Welcome to After Hours Live. Find out if Mr. G gets bitten by a shark. Find out if Greg finds any new gnomes. And find out if Morano has not done any more Botox. Live.
Shit. I got to tell you something. Garlic kills vampires. Silver bullets kill werewolves. Creatine fucking kills me.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
I haven't seen the sun in a fucking week and a half. Look at it! It just came out! Look at that!
I love it.
Welcome to another deranged episode of After Hours with the Whack Pack. I'm John Romano, filling in for Dave Palumbo, who is otherwise indisposed at the moment. He'll be back next week, hopefully. Being the co-founder of this site, I decided it was my turn to take over since Dave's out of the loop. So we're just going to go ahead and introduce the Whack Pack. I have Greg Valentino, Larry Pollock, and as you've seen already, Captain Protein, George Smalley, otherwise known as Mr. G. Welcome, fellas.
What's going on? George, you see SpongeBob out there in the ocean?
I did. I actually saw SpongeBob and I saw Mitch from Baywatch. Mitch was out there. Yes, I am Mitch. I will save all the women.
I've never seen Baywatch in my life, so I have no idea what the hell that is.
You don't know what Baywatch is?
Nah, I know what
Isn't that in the 80s?
watched it.
That was like an 80s show.
It's an iconic. It's iconic.
I believe you. I just never watched it though.
Yeah,
all right, let's get down to brass tacks here. I have a topic I want to start off with, and then we can just, it'll I'm sure the show will degenerate into its usual, after that. So here's the thing. This is our post Olympia show, and during this last week, I have read a lot online about what people are saying about the top 5, let's say, altogether, and one of the general consensuses is that there's a faction of people out there who routinely look at the physiques in men's open today, and they respond with comments such as bodybuilding is dead, indicating that they've gone too far. So I kind of look at that as, well, you guys have been crying about the 90s pretty much since the 90s. So we've given you the 212, the guys who get in incredible shape, and we've given you classic physique. So if you want a 90s bodybuilder, go watch classic. What do you got to dig on the freaking open guys for? But there seems to be this relentless pattern of dissing the open guys because they don't look like Lavroni and Wheeler and Coleman of the 90s. So if you're not going to appreciate classic physique for exactly what that represents, exactly that physique type of the 90s, then why do you guys keep beating to death men's open? Why? So I wanted to go around the horn here and get your all's opinion on that and see why these people are so hell-bent on continuing to denigrate the open guys.
You have a couple of different things going on. Number one, back in the 90s, bodybuilding was like a small cult sport, and the people that were in it were like the hardcore bodybuilders and people that were, deep into bodybuilding and knew what they were looking at. Now it's gone more mainstream. So you have everybody and their brother commenting. Even you have people that are running, podcasts that have barely been, they don't even know anything about bodybuilding. You can tell by what they say. They have no understanding of the criteria of bodybuilding, how it's decided who wins or what or anything. And the majority of these people commenting are kids who are ignorant as everything, basically. They don't know. They have no idea what they're even looking at or talking about.
Ignorant as fuck.
So that's
but the guys who are saying bodybuilding is dead, they appear to me to be older people that are just stuck.
I think because this sport's changed. It's just like I'm not too happy with baseball. All of a sudden in baseball, John, fucking, you got 5 guys in all of Major League, 5 that hit 300, and 4 guys that hit 50 home runs or more. Now today, if you bat 240, the guy who's going to win the MVP hit a lot of home runs, but he only batted 248. He's good. Imagine that's going to be an MVP. It's just so the sport's changed, and I think that, old school guys. I mean, I consider myself, dude. I started the shit in the 70s, so I was in the 70s era, the 80s era, the 90s era, the early 2000s. It's that I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of the sport, and I just talked to somebody. I'm not going to say his name here. I'll tell you who it is off the air. Who's a pro bodybuilder who even said to me, it's too much out of control, and I'm done with it because of all the shit I got to do. And I'm just saying, look, these guys, I think the bodies are not. When you looked at Arnold or even the other guys, even in the 90s, or Sean Ray or somebody like that, you said, "Wow, that's a beautiful body. It's attainable. It's not."
Greg, but Greg,
you know what I mean?
Greg, that's why. Then why don't they watch Classic?
But why?
That's my point. Classic. Look at Bumstead. Look at. Look at the dude. Look at Ramon. These guys are amazing. They are 90s bodybuilders. So if you're over here crying about not being able to see quality like Flex Wheeler and Lavroni and Cormier and Dorian and etc., go watch Classic. Why? My question is, why do the open guys have to bow to this level of condition when
I don't think the open guys.
You already have a class.
I don't think they're bound to anything. I don't think that they're bound.
There's more. I was going to say more, but you cut me off.
Go ahead.
So the other part is you have people that, again, they're ignorant. They normally would not have a voice, but because of social media, everybody can get on social media and make comments. Even some kid 20 years old in their basement that doesn't know jack shit, or it doesn't matter if they're older and they still don't know jack shit, and they can make their comments. And people love to hate on the winners. Look at Phil Heath. When Phil Heath was, at his prime, everybody hated Phil Heath because of Generation Iron. Well, the whole time he was competing, they were just hating on him. And now that he's retired, now they love him. But when he was competing, they hated him because people are jealous, insecure little assholes, and they just want to tear down whatever champion there is. It's just the way it is. And you're just having a bunch of idiots that have no understanding of the sport or judging or who should win based on what, giving their opinions, including Matt from Muscle Discord. Yeah, I'm calling you out, you piece of shit. With your fucking, I
don't even know who that is.
The guy with a chat GBT in this crap. They just love to hate. That's it.
So, but that's a valid point, and you're absolutely right. And there's a jealousy element in there too. But my question is, why do they gloss over exactly what they're looking for in classic physique and still beat on the fucking open? Why is no one paying it? Why don't they pay as much attention to the classic guys as they do digging on the open guys? I mean, it seems like it's a stupid argument.
Because you're. Go ahead, Larry.
Open's still the main event. That's where the big money is.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Everybody wants to see the big freaks, regardless of what they say they want. They want to see the big freaks. They have classic.
Well, the big freaks are not. You're not going to see. You are never going to see an open lineup like you saw in the 90s ever again. That's never going to happen. So either you guys who are looking for that, go watch and support classic physique, or if you're looking for the mass monster freaks, watch open, but expect the fact that they're going to look like plastic because they don't have those deep etched striations, see-through onion skin, like Samir used to say. They don't have it. They're not going to have it because there's no impetus to have it because Classic has it. So, like Greg said, bodybuilding's changing. And I think it's changed to the point where Open has been responsible for 10 other divisions springing up.
Well, wait, John, there's a misunderstanding. Something you just even said, you're not going to see the onion skin. That's not true. People confuse conditioning with separation.
Right.
Like Derek Lunsford, he's conditioned. In other words, his skin is thin. He has no body fat on him.
Right.
He doesn't have separation. And the reason he doesn't have separation, part of it's probably genetic, but part of it's probably because most of these guys, in order to be big enough to compete in Open, are using a bunch of GH and insulin and they have a lot of blood volume, so they're just not having the separation that you're going to see on a smaller guy.
John, listen to me. It's this is the way I look at it. Very simple. It's a simple fucking way. I don't care if they're fucking huge. That's their business. I just don't follow the sport itself. Bodybuilding is more of a lifestyle, and that's why there's way more bodybuilders don't even compete, and they're jacked and everything. But here's the thing. I look at it like this. You made this beautiful fucking pizza, right? But hey, keep adding more ingredients to it and change the fucking cheese and you throw more spices on it. And now you're eating, you're like, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Now it's like you added too much to it. Keep it simple. I think by adding it now, keep adding more and more divisions. You know what I'm saying? More and more so that they can make more scatol, but they watered down the recipe. They made the recipe weaker. The average person looks at that shit now today. These guys who, look, you can't even get a guy my height. Can't even be 212 anymore. They're too big. They're gonna raise that, to 212. Used to be 202. Now it's 212, right? But yet the great bodybuilders, Lee Priest, Sean Ray, Lee Labrada, all those guys were way under 200 pounds. You know what I'm saying? It would maybe 198 or whatever. But what I'm saying is those guys now today would have to fucking take a lot more shit to get themselves up almost another 20 pounds. I feel that they changed the recipe to the cookie that worked. You understand? And now it's like, oh my God, you got to put way too much garlic on this, way too much different, spice on it. Now you ruined what was once great. People want to see a beautiful physique. It's not just body, but it's not just who can get the biggest looking like with 30-inch fucking thighs. That's never been what bodybuilding's about. Otherwise, Arnold wouldn't have won any Mr. Olympias. He never would have won.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, a lot of guys bigger than him. Go ahead. Go ahead, Larry. I'm sorry.
Dexter Jackson said himself that he preferred the look of back in the 90s, and he competed in both eras.
Yes.
And he said himself that his look in the 90s would not be competitive later on in his career. He had to get bigger because he looked small standing next to the other guys. So they don't have a choice because, if they're 20 pounds lighter, they're not going to be big enough to compete in the
But wait, Larry,
I look small.
I agree with you, but here's the thing: Dexter Jackson was still within that bracket. He didn't go.
No, when he got bigger as his career went on.
But he filled out, is what you're trying to say. It didn't look bad on him.
He gained 100 pounds of muscle over.
Yeah,
his
but
career.
he didn't walk around with a fucking 30-inch ripped, a 40-inch ripped waist and 30-inch thighs. What guy today, John? What guy today doesn't have?
Hold on a second, Greg. Nick Walker did not place well because his waist was too big.
Right.
Derek won. He had the small waist with the wide shoulders.
Listen, I don't follow the sport, but I saw pictures of Derek and he looked great. So I'm not whoever out there.
Okay,
Larry, I have a element to this that I think is being overlooked, and that is that today's dial-in process, peak week, whatever you want to call it, the dial-in process that goes on during that time now is so manipulative now. With the amount of different drugs, diuretics, anticortisols, blah, 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 that all these guys are using.
John, a drug for every process of the body. Go ahead.
Every single one.
To
And
sleep,
the thing is, these guys post pictures on Instagram 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the show, and they're huge and separated, and the muscles pushing against the skin and vascular and gigantic. And then I mean, Nick Walker's a great example. The pictures of him 4 weeks ago were freaking astonishing. You know, how come that guy didn't show up at the Olympia is the question. So whatever they're doing and I think a lot of it has to do with the diuretics, is they're taking water out of the muscle because, like you said, Larry, there's no fat left. So you're deflating the entire package by pulling more water out than you should. How can you start a diuretic process 2 weeks before contest? How do you know you're going to need it 2 weeks out?
John, they did more diuretics
guys,
in the 90s.
And
they did more synthol in the 90s.
Synthol, yes, in the 90s, absolutely.
The difference is GH and insulin. More blood.
I don't know, man. It doesn't account for the fact that 3 weeks prior. Wait, it doesn't account for the fact that 3 weeks prior to the show, these guys are huge.
You're looking at Instagram pictures that are filtered. They're taken under special lighting. They're taken at the certain angles, and you're not seeing everything. When you see them on stage, you see a different thing than you saw in Instagram pictures.
But Larry, there's way more drug use. These guys are 30, 40 pounds heavier than the guys in the 90s. I mean, Lee Haney was 240 something.
GH and insulin. That's the more drug use.
I think the new wave of diuretics that they're using is way too harsh. You're going to say that they use diuretics in the 90s and, you know, Momo died and blah, blah, blah. That's because we were just learning how to use that shit.
Right.
There was no instruction manual that came with a box of Diazide.
How many guys barf
they're
fat
still using the same diuretic protocols that they used in the 90s.
Being carried out.
I never have needed. Rich Gaspari is a perfect example. Shredded, striated glutes, not a single diuretic, almost except for one time in his entire career.
Yeah, but what happened?
It's when he looked his worst. So, and I've prepped probably 300 people over the course of my career, and I never used a diuretic until the last day. If I needed a diuretic, it was Lasix, injected IV. It worked. It started working in 15 minutes, and it was done by the end of the day with no rebound. So the idea that you need diuretics starting 2 weeks out is something that never happened in the 90s.
But let me ask you,
never.
Let me ask you and Larry something. Hold on. You brought up a good point. Now let's talk about Rich Gaspari and my guy, Samir Banu, who I absolutely fucking love. When those guys came back and tried to go in heavier, it almost threw off their lines and they placed lower. Samir Banu, to me, he was one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time. Such a great guy, and his lines were fucking phenomenal. I loved the way his physique looked. Okay, same thing with Rich. Great guy. The minute Rich said, let me try to get bigger, and he did get bigger, and he still was ripped and still had striated glutes, but all of a sudden his placing dropped. I think that what that shows is that his
placing dropped because he got injured. He had
it throws off his lines. You can't, you know what I'm saying?
But the point of bringing him up was he got shredded, striated with zero diuretics, and the look that you guys are complaining about that was present in the 90s, it's not present today, was present then because that is what happened when the muscle is full and big and full of glycogen and water. It's pushing against the skin, and you can't. That's what causes the striations. Look at Samir. It's like,
dude, yeah, I love Samir. Is one of my favorite.
Samir competed at like 180 something pounds.
184. Yeah, he's 184 in the Olympia. 184.
Right.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
Okay, on today's stage, he'd look like a stick.
Yeah, but
you're right. He would.
But that physique right there, chicks want to bang that, and guys get inspired by that. You show these guys today, like these mass freaks.
That's why they have classic. That's what the classic.
Exactly. That's what I've been trying to say.
But are they going to keep adding more fucking divisions to try to justify more drug use?
They'll probably be classic plus.
It's more drug. I'll take this.
And then pre-open. They have a lot of room to go if they want to.
Dude, I'll take that physique of Samir Banu any day of the week over these guys today. It just looks better. And you know what? That's going to draw more
bigger than classic guys. He was 184 pounds.
Okay. All right. Then let's hang on. If that's true, let's see a picture of a 2003 or 2004 Ronnie Coleman. You're going to see tissue paper onion skin over a 300-pound bodybuilder.
Okay, but John, here it goes. Let me ask you and Larry one thing. Let's get into this. What's the criteria for being a bodybuilder? Is it supposed to be to get the fucking biggest you can be, look like the California raisin, take so much fucking shit that you're ready to drop dead? Your fucking heart beats. These guys don't last.
Yeah, but
all these
Greg,
big man
you didn't watch the Olympia, so you're kind of off.
I
The
did
only
see-
person that
saw
looked
the
like
kid-
that was Nick Walker. Everybody else had small waists.
I see. Did there what you consider small waist?
No, Greg, he's right.
the
He's right.
300
Listen, I was there backstage. I was on the side, the wing of the stage when Nick Walker was out there. When he turned around and did a back double bicep, he let go of his stomach because his back was to the audience. It looked like a fossilized armored dinosaur. It was just insanely blown out. That's. You got to control.
And nobody else had that.
A lot to control. No one else did. You're right.
Martin was shredded and peeled with a tiny waist. All of the guys had small waists.
The only thing I saw was the kid that won, and I thought he looked good.
Look, Derek's got a small waist and his shoulders were wider than anybody else on stage, even at his height. He also carried more mass, and you can't say that he had thick skin because nobody in history has had glutes striated like that. Nobody from the 90s had glutes striated that deep. He just from the front, he doesn't have a lot of separation. It's just
what do you think of these guys on stage now, Larry?
These are classic guys.
Right. And don't they look like 90s guys?
Yes.
That's my point. That's my point. That is my whole point.
Yeah, they're way smaller.
Yeah, but that's not what you're selling, though. You're selling bodybuilding, right? The main dish, the entree.
No,
is
Larry's right. They are smaller, but you can't say that by looking at a picture of a 2003 Ronnie Coleman, 2004 Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Nasser, Marcus Rule. These were giant men who were shredded and peeled.
Yes, but they weren't weighing with these
300 pounds. He had a distended stomach as well. But they just let it go back then.
I didn't say they didn't have a distended stomach. I said that they still had that condition that everybody's complaining about that isn't here anymore. So I'm not gonna take that it's because they're way smaller. There were way big guys back then. Dennis Wolf is another one. There were huge guys back then that brought that kind of condition. So you can't tell me they're all smaller. They were the big dudes there that were shredded. Why can't they? If they can't replicate that today on a big physique, then that we've given up, which is basically what's happened. We've given up. We've relegated that condition to classic physique, and we've given up on ever seeing that again on the open guys.
No, I think there's guys pushing that size. They just don't have the structure that Ronnie did. He just was a genetic freak. You're looking at the top of the top. All
right, Jay Cutler, Chris Cormier, Dennis Wolf, Nasser Al-Sambate.
Look at Hadi. Hadi had separation from the front. Derek just was bigger.
Hadi was the most separated guy up there. Absolutely. You got to give him condition of the show. But I don't know. There's something about his physique that doesn't scream it to me. But I mean, he could have won. No one would have argued.
Look,
they would have argued, but they'd argue.
Hadi won the front double biceps. He won the front abs and thighs.
Yep, clearly.
But from the side, Derek is way bigger on the side chest, the side tricep, and all the back shots.
Yep.
So Derek takes 4 shots to his 2.
Yep.
And he was just bigger.
But
noticeably bigger.
No, he was definitely noticeably bigger, but he just doesn't. None of these guys, except for maybe Dowda at some point in the show he did. I think one of the night show when he came back on the finals, had that look of skin being stretched over an anatomy chart. There's usually, and if you look at Derek right now, when he hits that shot, you can see his chest. It's like there's no lines there.
Derek
no dig on him, but
doesn't have striations in his chest. He never
shoulders, triceps, and he looks like plastic right there. He looks like molded plastic. I mean, that's not in a bad way, but I mean, if you look at Hadi hitting those shots, he's popping out of his skin.
He looks smooth in the legs, though, to me.
Absolutely. I don't know. It's a tough.
I think
I got to tell you though, with
good.
those guys right there, you are splitting atoms. I mean, and Adam, it's just so close in so many regards that I mean, you could have diced that, shuffled that order up any which way, and the same arguments would be raging. So, what do you think, Georgie? He's not thinking.
He's got the sharks on his mind.
That's why we keep him around.
Listen, whatever, it is what it is. If you're a fan of that, that's God bless you. I'm just saying they changed the entree. Do you understand what I'm saying?
The judges can only judge what's in front of them.
True.
We don't have a Ronnie Coleman or a Phil Heath up there.
All I know is these guys can't maintain that kind of
Here, let's answer the question that's on the screen. What does Andrew Jack need to do between now and next fall? You know what he needs to do? He needs to gain 20 pounds is what he needs to do.
Yeah, he is so. I stood right next to him. I interviewed him at the meet and greet. The guy is like 6'2" or 6'3".
He's massive.
He's so tall that to have the proportions of a Derek or a Hottie, he has to put on a lot more mass on his hamstrings and glutes.
Yep.
From the
front,
the thing is, he's unbeatable. But when he turns,
that's a big guy.
He's not as thick as those guys.
That's a big guy.
You're right. And the thing is, he's compared to Hottie. Hottie's sold every available lot of real estate he's got on his physique. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, but this guy's structure, I think, is better.
This guy still has lots for sale, so he could easily gain and spread 20 pounds of muscle out over that 6'2" frame and bang his condition. And there's no doubt that's a Mr. Olympia right there.
He's just a little shallow in the hamstrings, and if he brings those out somehow to fill out those long legs, he'll be unbeatable.
Yep, I agree.
You know who had to build similar to him? Johnny Morant. Remember Johnny Morant?
Yeah.
With those broad shoulders and his.
You come up with these names out of the past. It's incredible.
Oh, I knew Johnny. He used to come to my gym. He's from Jersey, bro. He was a good guy. He was fucking huge though. He was tall. Remember Vinnie Comerford he did the fucking most muscular. Vinnie Comerford went underneath his legs and came out from the front.
My favorite Olympic disparity in height in the Olympia was Flavio Boccanini next to Lou Ferrigno.
No, you mean he was next to Ralph Moeller.
No, Lou Ferrigno was right next to Flavio Boccanini. He looked like a little toy compared to him.
I remember him next to Ralph Moeller.
And keep in mind that when you're talking about the diuretic use, Chris Aceto prepped most of the top guys in this Olympia.
That's true.
And he's still using the same diuretic protocols that he used on Jay Cutler and those guys back when.
It is, Johnny. That's
true. Yeah, it's true.
Look at that stroke. Look at how big he was. You guys got to remember, he was tall too. He was a big guy.
The thickest motherfucker up there that could do damage if he got his condition.
Oh
right.
Yeah, if he ever got his shit together.
No, the guy who looks. You want to see who looks like him is Larry Wheels.
Oh,
I mean, no, Nexzilla.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look at Nexzilla's legs when he's just standing there.
That was great.
He has no separation in his legs.
No,
it's just like a big blob.
Massive. But could you imagine those separated and strided and still that size?
Imagine that guy playing football with those traps.
He's got like a tire around his neck. His traps are freaking massive. His whole body is massive. If those legs were underneath a couple of these other guys, I mean, it would be.
He has a weird structure, and his legs overpower his upper body.
Yes,
and he has no separation in his legs.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If he was shredded and separated,
I don't think it's like he's fat. He just doesn't have separation because he's got so much blood volume in there that it just blurs out the. It's like if you train legs and you get a big pump, your legs look swollen and everything.
Right.
You don't see any separation.
Right.
They get flat.
You're right.
That's why I never show my legs if they're pumped. You got to show them when they're not pumped because then the splits are there, but otherwise they get flat. You smooth out.
When these guys are pushing this much insulin and GH, they're pumped all day long without doing anything.
That's true.
Yeah, but if you threw some of these guys on a desert island, came back 3 months later, you'd be like, who the fuck are these guys? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying because So
Yeah, but they'd be smaller too. And then when they get in the lineup, they look skinny next to these other guys that are just 20, 30 pounds bigger.
I don't know.
All I'm saying is I am doubtful, let's put it that way, that you're ever going to see a 2003, 2004 sized, Ronnie Coleman sized guy in the open with that kind of condition. I just don't think you're ever going to see it again.
I don't know. It could happen.
I would love for it to happen. Don't get me wrong. I would love for it to happen, but I just don't think it is because they can just defer to the classic guys. You want to see that kind of separation? Look at them.
No, you know what it is? Ronnie Coleman wasn't a drug monster. These guys are. These guys
That's
are all
not true. Ronnie took plenty of drugs.
Ronnie took drugs, but he had that. He was a fucking pro as a natural.
Yeah, how long can these guys last?
He had that muscles and that. Even fucking now, guys
How
been in
long
the
can
hospital.
these guys last doing all these drugs?
I think that's a very difficult question to ponder because nobody knows exactly what anybody's doing. So it's real easy for us to say they do tons of drugs, but quantify that. What's tons of drugs?
Look, Derek Lunsford just had his second kid coming now, and while he was doing all these preps.
Yeah, but he didn't give birth to it.
Couldn't have been doing that much.
But I'm just saying, even during this year of all these preps, competing all year, he produced another kid. So I don't know how unhealthy he really is. He looks like he's pretty healthy.
Looks healthy to me.
Speaking of that,
well, he was an anomaly.
Speaking of that, I'm not
a lifetime.
But I was with Lee Priest this weekend, and he fucking put on like 30 pounds, man. He looks big.
Yeah, we just saw him at the Olympia. He looks huge.
I asked him, how much do you weigh? And he said to me, "Oh, I'm like 235." And I'm like, 235. When I was with him in Alabama, he was like fucking, he was like in the 190s. Like
Lee has got it. I hope he's listening. He's got to be somewhat myostatin negative because when you shake hands with him, it's like grabbing a bunch of bananas. I mean, it's like a catcher's mitt. His hand is this part of it is like this thick. You know what I mean? He's so massive, like everywhere.
His forearms are this fucking fat, like they're like huge. They're like you see all the muscle. Yeah, I don't mean fat. You know what I'm saying? Thick. You know what I mean?
This part of it, the long part of it down here, where it's over here. His form it's got like this bowling pin.
No, he had a baseball right here. He has a baseball. His fucking arm. It's fucking.
He is just nuts looking.
I was just with him Saturday. We all went to dinner.
Yeah, there he is.
Well, he's always had that. He's gone up and down in weight his whole career.
Yeah, but he's big right now. I mean, I see him in person.
I seen him at 300 pounds a long time ago. When he was in 5'3" or something.
I've been with the guy, in person many times, recently and shit. And all of a sudden, when I saw him, I was like, holy fuck, Lee, you're like fucking 30 pounds heavier. So he said, I'm 235. He looks good. I mean, he's not fat. He's not fat at all. You know what I mean? You know who I was with too? Jason Arntz. He looked really good too. Jason looked very good. Jason Arntz.
That's a name blast from the past. He looked really good.
Yeah, he looks good. I saw him. He was pretty jacked.
You saw him at the
I went to dinner with him. I went
Krispy Kreme.
I went to dinner. It was in New Jersey. I was with Phil Heath, all them guys. But Guy Sistanino, Guy's my guy, man. I love Guy. But we all went out to dinner. Me, Lee, Jimmy the Bull, John Livia, Joe Zapata, and
look at that, man. That is an absolute from another planet.
Jourdain Sue, her.
But he competed at around 200 pounds.
Yep.
So I think he told me
today he would be a 212 guy.
Yeah. Yep. You're right.
But he
could probably still win the Open, even like Lunsford did. I mean, he was a 212 guy too, and he went to the Open. Mm-hmm. Actually, he's the only guy I ever do that to win to both Olympias.
Jason Arntz was hurt.
Lee could have done it, I believe.
Yeah, but think about it. That's him right there, 198. Now, today, he'd have to gain another fucking like 14 pounds of solid muscle You know, if you want to do that 212 shit. Otherwise, he'd be, you know, it's just ridiculous. I think that's the way Lee looks great.
That's from car racing when he was racing the cars, right?
Yeah, that's car racing. No, I mean, I'll tell you, no, you know, when we were talking, I was like, holy fuck, bro. You know what I mean? Jimmy was with us, Jimmy Pletcher, and Jason Arts was with us. Big Sid was there, you know, like.
When was this?
We were in Jersey.
When? Not where, when?
Saturday.
Just this past Saturday?
I went out to dinner with Lee, Jimmy, Jason Arntz, Big Sid, Jordan Sue, the female bodybuilder, Joe Zapata.
And you didn't take any pictures, no videos, no nothing. Yeah,
it's on my Instagram. We're all out to dinner. I took videos of Lee, and you know, I was making jokes because Mike O'Hearn said to me, make sure Lee pays that tip. And I told him Lee stole the tip. It was a good time though, you know what I mean? It was good seeing Jimmy too, you know. Always good to see.
Who do you think is the cheapest out of all of them?
Lee. No, Lee's not cheap. I'm just fucking around. I don't know. They're all good. Everybody threw in money. Everybody was good. You know what I'm saying? But it was fun. It was a fun night, you know, because Jimmy was, you know, Jimmy did the whole flat earth thing.
Did he really in front of all those people?
Joe Zapata got him started.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he started talking about the flat earth. And, you know, but it was good to see Jason Arntz. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah,
so
I haven't seen him in ages.
Yeah, we were sitting together. I sat next to Jason across from Lee, and then I could tell you so much crazy shit.
Now, how's Jimmy looking?
Jimmy looks good.
Does he?
Yeah, Jimmy looks good.
Because he was driving that truck with the family-sized bag of Kit Kats open on the engine cover, noshing as he drove. You know.
He ate steak. He ate a steak when we were there, and you know, yeah, he looks good. Jimmy looks good. Everybody at the table looked pretty fucking good. Did you ever see that girl Jordan Sue?
No.
Jordan Sue, how she spells her name? She's fucking jacked. You should Google her. She's
the girlfriend lives in Dubai.
No, I think she lives here. She's from here. She's jacked, bro. She got fucking shoulder. I think she was more built than any of the guys.
Larry, did you watch any of the Miss Olympia?
I did.
What'd you think of that?
I thought Natalia was a clear winner, and I thought that what's her name making those comments afterwards was bullshit. I
didn't hear that.
Now you lost me with all this shit.
Who
Natalia was a clear winner.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Sarah Villegas made those comments afterwards, calling her out, saying that she was full of synthol. That was
totally the oil queen. Crap. I meant the open Miss Olympia, the bodybuilding.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Andrea Shaw, yeah, she deserved to win, and the girl that got second, she, I think it was judged right.
I thought so too. But what what I wanted your opinion on was the degree of muscularity that these girls are bringing now. Andrea Shaw looks like a statue. She looks like something manufactured. She looks amazing.
Dude, wait, can I say something?
All right, let me finish my butt. But the whole reason women's bodybuilding died in the first place was because the physiques got so massive and unappealing that they've pushed themselves out of existence. The Mr. Olympia is subsidizing the Miss Olympia. Why is that? Why do we have this audience that is so poor for the Miss Olympia?
Because nobody gives a shit about that.
Because women just don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to get that big.
Listen,
she was more conditioned than Mr. Olympia.
Forget all that shit. Guys like to hear some fucking crazy shit. I was with Sean Ray and I said, watch this shit. And Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash, one of my best friends. And I went up to Phil Heath, was doing an interview. And I walked up in the middle of the interview and I fucked with Phil Heath so bad. I go, holy shit, Sean Ray. I said, what's up, brother? And everybody started fucking laughing. And he started, he grabs me and we were fucking around. And then he goes to me, everybody keeps telling me wherever I go, they think I'm Victor.
Look at Andrea here. I mean,
now come on, I'm giving you guys some good shit. Do you think these guys?
yeah, I know, but
we're
talking about this right now.
Okay.
So look at that right there. Stride.
I got crazy stories. These guys don't want to hear shit.
Because it's not, because you've probably said it 15 times already.
It just happened Saturday.
Okay, let me hear your story.
The only reason women's bodybuilding is even in existence anymore is because of Jake Wood.
It's the
if
only
it wasn't
reason.
for Jake Wood, there would be no women's bodybuilding.
Yeah, and Mr. Olympia to generate the capital. But I know he goes into his pocket for that. You got to admire that because it was dead. It was gone for 5 years. And he brought it back. So, I mean, I just don't see the audience for it anymore because, and you remember this, and during the Corey era, Miss Olympia was a standalone event that sold out Madison Square Garden, the Felt Forum. Okay. And the audience was predominantly mothers and daughters going together to what? Friends, girls. There was a lot of females in the audience, much more than men. What dynamic changed that brought...
Iris Kyle killed the Miss Olympia.
Yeah.
Period.
Who?
And Iris Kyle.
Oh.
She just came with a level of conditioning and muscularity that was like over the top, and no one could beat her. She won, what, 11 or 12 of them?
At least 10.
And during that time, you know, people didn't want to look like that.
Now, do you think the judges could have steered the direction they were going by not rewarding her?
Yeah, they could have, but they didn't. Like the last time she competed, who was this? Popa was second,
you're right.
And she could have, and Popa like looked more feminine, but still Iris was more shredded, and they gave it to Iris again. And then after that, they canceled the Miss Olympia.
Right.
Girls just don't want to look like that. And you know what? I know Iris, and I'm actually, I wouldn't say friends, but I have a good relationship with her. But honestly, when she competed, her face looked like a dude. And
her face did get pretty lined when she was in contest shape.
Yeah, I sat with her in the airport flying back from the Arnold one year, and her face was like, you know, hard cheekbones, big jaw. Yeah. It just looked. She looked like Dexter Jackson in the face.
It looked painful, actually. I love Iris. I know her well, and she
was a great bodybuilding competitor, but women just don't want to look like that anymore.
But do they want to look like? Do they want to look like the Miss Olympia lineup now?
No, they don't. They want to do wellness, and that's why those categories are the biggest. You know, wellness and bikini. Very few women are competing in bodybuilding. On the amateur levels, there's hardly any women going to the bodybuilding competitions.
Figure is almost out of control right now. You were just talking about the win, or no, that was
physique.
Class women's physique division. Yeah. There's Iris.
Yeah,
she looks like a statue.
Dude, the girl we were hanging out with that came to dinner with us, very nice girl, Jordan Sue, Jordain Sue. That girl's fucking jacked, more jacked than I mean, she's fucking got delts.
Shape. This is contest shape.
Yeah, but she competes. She's an IFBB pro. She competes in the Miss Olympia. She's jacked.
Look, Iris had, for bodybuilding standards, she had the best physique to judge as a bodybuilder. But
can I say one thing about the female bodybuilders?
Don't want to look like that.
Let me tell you something. A lot of girls, if you know these girls in person, that are super jacked, would scare the shit out if you saw them in the street. You think, holy Christ, he's so big. Are the sweetest girls on the planet. Sometimes the biggest girls are the nicest girls, like this girl Jordan, a bunch of them, Michelle Prada, all those girls. They're such nice people when you meet them in person, and they're actual sweethearts. You would think because they're jacked, they're like, pull my finger. You know what I mean?
Iris is a sweetheart. She's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
All of them.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but we're not talking about their personality.
You're right. We're not.
No, I know, but I'm saying
other girls look at them on stage and they're like, I don't want to be that big.
Okay, now you brought up wellness. Let's talk about wellness for a minute. To me, I am no prude. Greg knows. that is just over the top. Those girls, I think it's the Latin influence. How they have decided to portray themselves on stage. These girls, they move like smoke. It's the sultriest, most suggestive movements in the entire world. And when they do that glute hamstring shot, man, they tossed that vajayjay out into the crowd, man. A guy in the third row got a sequin in his nose one year, I think. But they just are overly sexualized. You can't. There's no sport. This is no sport. I know it took it took a sport to build that. But look at the way she's presenting herself, and there's no sport.
Yeah, but look at the development in her lower body.
It's amazing.
Her legs are unreal.
It's amazing, but why aren't they just doing quarter turns? Why are they sneaking up? Why are they acting like a python sneaking up on a small furry critter? I mean, this is so sultry and I'm telling you, it's the Latin influence, Brazilian, Central America, Mexico. All these women. If you've ever spent any time in these countries, you'll see that all Latin women espouse their sexuality like crazy. They are like,
Latin is my favorite flavor.
I'm telling you, hyper. But I mean, they're not doing quarter turns. I mean, look at this. What do you think when you look at that? I mean, what can you possibly think when you look at that?
No, nothing.
I think how much
glutes.
You know what
I think nothing. It's like not even what is. How is that a part of your physique?
How much is her OnlyFans a month? That's what I think.
That's what you think at that point. Exactly.
Just her OnlyFans.
But it's a look that's popular. You know,
it's popular because they're tugging at men's little head. That's what keeps them in the seat. They're not doing what I'm saying. They're not doing quarter turns. They're not standing there like robots doing.
Bring back the Hawaiian Tropic. We had the first bikini contest ever at the MD booth. Remember?
I knew that was coming. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that was the first one ever.
So what are you talking about?
They don't
in bodybuilding.
No, George,
bikini's been around fucking since the 80s. The
Hawaiian
Tropics, all the girls.
Yeah, I know Hawaiian. I'm not talking Hawaiian Tropics.
Hawaiian Tropics has been around since the 70s. That was a Playboy offshoot. That's ancient. You like girls with big bushes and flat tits. That's what you like. So natural tits, I should say.
No, it was natural. It was natural girls. It was girls that didn't augment their butts.
Right.
Didn't augment their chests.
Didn't shave
a natural female.
Didn't trim their pubes.
I don't know. You didn't see any stuff sticking out of the bathing suit.
Yeah, you did.
I never saw it.
I love it when I see it.
Greg loves it.
Oh, fuck yeah, bro.
Well, he made them do it. He made them do it.
I love that shit.
He says, I'm not dating you unless you do this.
Hey, listen, God put hair down on a girl's box for a reason. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hey, look at two chicken colors put together. God threw hair down there and made us men like that shit. But look, if you're a 70s guy, you looked at Playboy, they always had a nice fucking groomed rug, right, John? Always had a rug down there.
I always saw it as a blank canvas upon which you could carve interesting shapes and messages.
Well, our bodies had hair all over it. We go back to Neanderthal.
I'm partial to the little Hitler mustache. That's what I like.
I had Hubba Bubba bubble gum. I think I told you a story. The fucking gum got in her fucking hair pussy. And I was like, wait, when I was starting to eat a box, didn't I have gum in my mouth? And it was all stuck in the hair. But you know what? I love that shit.
No, we never heard that story, Greg.
You heard it a million times. Okay.
Why not bazooka? Greg, why not bazooka? Why?
No, we should see if we can.
Because I just grabbed that when I was young.
Valentino story counter into our so that when he says one of these stories, you can put a little number up, like 4, 8, 19.
You're allowed 3 times
right,
before.
You're allowed 3.
Then you get
after 3, then you get your balls busted. Right. After 3, then you get told. You told us that story.
Then you get the gong.
Oh, remember that gong we had? Jesus, that gong was so loud.
I remember the gong.
Georgie, the first booth that you and your brother put on at MD, when we got that stage that was like 20 feet long by 40 feet wide,
I remember
that giant stage. That's a giant. That's a big area to occupy. 20 by 40. No, I'm not exaggerating. That's how big it was. It was like an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Yeah, but we look like a rock concert, John.
What was amazing that for 8 straight hours without interruption, Georgie and his brother were on the mics, kept that thing going. Push-up contest, beauty contest, bikini contest, pull-up contest. You had like 19.
You best Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation with the mask. But we had the mask.
My girl, that is like a sister to me. I'm godfather, her daughter, and everything. Dana Capabian. She won the. Remember, she was arm wrestling all the guys. She beat like 20 guys, and then she switched arms and she beat in. Remember her? She could. Yep. That's my girl, man. That's
how Dave met Triple H at that show. Because what my brother would do is he would stand on stage and he would like call out celebrities, that weren't even there. Sylvester Stallone in the house. And
hold on.
Slide, come up. Meanwhile, Sly's not there, right?
Hold on. You know how Triple H came there? Because my friend Carlin Coker brought him there. Because Carlin Coker's his doctor and shit. And
Carlin's his doctor?
Carlin Coker does a lot of the UFC guys. Carlin Coker's Rampage Jackson, all those guys.
Yeah, what is
he
actually? Hold on. Wait. I gotta rebuke that.
What?
I think the word you're looking for there is rebuke.
It's the Irish rebuke.
Go ahead, rebuke it.
No, all right. Even though Copeland, if that's Copeland, is that how you?
Coker, yeah, Dr.
Coker. Even though Coker came with him, my brother was on stage and saw him in the audience and called him out and called him up on stage. All right,
but he was backstage when your brother asked him if he wanted to. I was with them. I was sitting right there.
No, he was out in the front.
Backstage. No, he wasn't backstage. He brought him up. I saw him. I was right there.
He was in front of us.
I have pictures of Carlin.
Let's go to the videotape.
Let's go to the videotape. There it is.
Two things can happen at the same time.
Yes.
Actually, John is the one who took the picture. Was taking a picture of me and Paul Triple H.
Right.
And it was on video, and you can hear John going, "It's on video. It's recording."
Because Blackman.
And that's when he met Dave.
You get a lot of shots.
I fucked up so bad because I had a needle on me when you guys were doing the Jose Canseco interview, and I was like, I was going to go, excuse me, and interrupt. And did you drop this? To Jose. But I was like, holy, Dave.
Remember?
Dave was giving me the stink eye, like, don't interrupt. And I was like, okay.
No, if you had done that, that would have been horrible.
We had Jose. We had Romanowski. Remember Romanowski, the linebacker from the San Francisco 49ers?
Yep.
He won, I think, 3 or 4 Super Bowl rings. He had him on. My brother asked to try it on. We had him on stage.
Wait, it was. You know what the craziest thing was? John, do you remember this? That Arthur Lee Ray had the after party. Okay, he was a great guy, by the way.
Arthur L. Ray, yes, Scott. Arthur L. Ray.
And he had the after party, and fucking Canseco showed up, and he threw him out.
Yes. No, his wife threw him out.
Yeah, his wife threw him out.
I was right there. I think there was a reason.
Yeah,
because he didn't like him because he said he's a rat.
He's a rat.
And Arthur
that was why.
Yeah, yep. Arthur Lee Ray. Well, his wife did it at his behest. It was fucking great. I was right there. She was no.
Instantly, she didn't not want him there at all.
There at all.
That's crazy.
I was laughing my balls up.
That was
some fucking girl with him. I was like, holy shit, man.
So Larry, out of all 11 divisions we have now, what do you think is the most powerful one and with the most potential?
You mean in men's and women's?
Everything. Out of all 11 divisions, what do you think could be the...
Well, regardless of whatever they say about the Open, that's still what's paying the most money, and that's what's putting most people in the seats.
Right.
So they can 100%. Complain all they want, but they're still coming to see the Open.
I agree.
Nobody's buying tickets for the others, and that's been proven over and over again.
That's absolutely true.
When they did the show in Pittsburgh, they did the men's bodybuilding on a Saturday and all the women's stuff on a Sunday. And the thing was sold out on Saturday. And on Sunday, it was a ghost town. Hardly anybody showed up.
Yep.
So it's just that. They can complain all they want about the open. It's still where what is everybody talking about on all the podcasts? The open. What is everybody paying to see? The open. They can say they like classic and it's popular, but they're not paying the money to see the classic that they're paying for the open. People still want to see the big freaks.
So when
Classic's
people
not
make
Mr.
those
Olympia.
comments that bodybuilding is dead, it's definitely not dead.
It's
better
actually,
than
it's
it's
actually
ever
even
been.
bigger. It's bigger than it ever was because now they have all these divisions. Now a promoter can make money. How could a promoter make money on the show? If, I mean, now you have all. Now
It depends on how you look at bigger, because there's more. The
You
biggest
have all these
draws,
divisions.
the biggest draws at the expo are not the pro bodybuilders. They're the fucking internet fucking people.
Yep.
Michael Hearn, fucking people like that who will draw
Trend
people.
Twins, the line to see
Trend
the Trend
Twins.
Twins was around the block.
Right. The same thing with the other kid there. The fucking got the mushroom hair. What the hell's his name? Him,
still,
Sam
who's
Sully.
putting-
Zelic.
Who's putting asses in the seats at the actual shows, the open bodybuilders?
Yeah, but wait,
Right.
can I just say something? I don't mean to just change, but who puts the asses in the expos? Those guys. And the expo draws way more people than the fucking. Do you know how many people come for those expos?
You know,
Yeah,
did
because
you know
the
the
expo
biggest
ticket
biggest
costs
line?
$20.
Most
And an
people
Olympia
don't even
seat
care about the
ticket's
show.
$1,200.
Yeah, exactly. Good
Nobody
point,
cares
Larry.
about the show. Most people don't. When I was with Blackman, I used to give the show fucking night show tickets away and shit. You know what I mean?
I used to scalp.
Yeah, but people still came to the Olympia.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I'm saying, but the people love the expo. If they did away with that expo, you'd be
well, the
shocked.
Arnold Expo was always the best.
The VIP tickets were sold out this year after the first week,
Yep.
and they were $1,200 a piece. And
There
the
was
ex-
barely an empty seat in the house, really. There was.
Yeah. And they
Very
came to
little.
see the
It's like
during
that
the
right
show.
there.
You know, they mixed it up. They kept mixing up the women with the men, but every time the women went on, like half the people went out in the lobby.
Everybody went to the bathroom. I know.
Yep.
Is that kid Salika or is that a Trend Twin kid?
No, it's Salika.
That
What
looks
is
like Sulak. Sam Sulak.
I can't see it. Yeah, Sulak, whatever.
Look,
So,
yeah.
all those young kids, they know Lee too. They know that when I see the kids at the college here, because FAU University, I see is right by me, Division I. All those students know who Lee is.
Lee was hanging out with those kids.
They all know Lee. They
He was
you know,
hanging out
Lee-
with those Trend Twins.
Look, you're catering to two different groups of people. You have the hardcore bodybuilding fans that want to see the bodybuilding, and then you have all these teenagers that want to see their internet heroes.
Right.
And it's completely different.
100%. But if you did away with those expos, it would be the shows would be wouldn't even make money.
No, that's not true because they still have shows without expos and they're still selling out pretty well.
But I'm saying those big shows. A show at Joe Mataraz's high school is one thing, but when you're at the fucking MGM Grand or some fucking big hotel,
Yeah, but that's just a product of social media and Instagram.
Well, where's the Olympia
Guys
next
get
year?
famous.
Is the Olympia next year in Orlando?
It's in
No.
Cape
No.
Coral.
No, it's
Back
not.
in Vegas, but it's going to be back
It's
at the Orleans.
It's back at the Orleans.
New Orleans with people smoking cigarettes on smoking machines?
A place that was furnished by the Salvation
I'm
Army.
not joking. People with oxygen in their things walking.
I had a
walking-
cigarette burn on my in the pillow in the cushion in my room. Cigarette burn.
That's
I heard
all
I heard it was remodeled though. I don't know if that's true.
You know what's funny, George? You go into bathrooms, right, in the casinos, and they got a big bin for all the needles because the old men are in there fucking shooting the insulin and then go back out. You know what I'm saying? You never saw that? They carry fanny packs, and the old men have
yeah, well,
on the wall. What
they had their walkers.
Yeah, they throw their
The
needles.
little
in.
walkers with, and they flap up in the middle and all the stuff's inside where they.
That's because they're psycho when it comes to like gambling and stuff. You know, they don't give a shit. They're ready to drop dead. They got to take their insulin shot and go right back out there.
Look at the Arnold show. They only pick the popular divisions. They have men's open bodybuilding, they have classic physique, and the board shorts. And for the women, they have bikini and wellness, and that's it. There's no women bodybuilding.
Wow.
But and then they have the strongman. The strongman was always popular.
Yeah, but that's totally like a side.
I
show.
love watching that.
But they're not putting in the divisions that people don't want to come to see.
Don't you think that's audience manipulation?
Yeah.
I mean, and if you buy the ticket, why can't you just go watch what you want to watch? Why do you got to be forced to watch the whole thing?
I don't know why they. I think they just want to have asses in the seats, so it looks like everybody's watching all of it. I don't know.
Right.
Because if they like they did in Pittsburgh, I said they put the women on one day, the men on another day. On the women's day, nobody showed up. Hardly anybody was there compared to the men's day.
Larry? How many people competed on the women's day? They have a lot of competitors in all the divisions.
As far as I know, yeah.
Because they went pro. It's the Masters, right, and the Team Nationals, right? Those two.
No. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Pro Show.
Oh, the Pittsburgh Pro Show. Okay.
Yeah. Not the amateur. That's a totally different thing. The amateur is a different business model because it's based on, getting people to come and buy entry fees, and then having how many of their friends and family are going to come watch. So they're making money differently. They're not making money on spectators coming just to watch the show. For every competitor that competes, they get so much money in entry fees and tanning and makeup and this, that, and the other, plus 5 of their friends come to watch them. That's how they make money in the amateurs.
What do these girls spend on it? How much do these girls spend on getting ready for the show with all their makeup?
They don't spend a dime. Their sponsor pays for
They're
it.
schmo.
No. We're talking about the amateurs.
What do you mean their sponsor?
I mean their sponsor, as in their
dad.
Their boyfriend, their husband or boyfriend.
Most of them. You can't say anything definitively because then you'll get the definite, outlier that goes, I pay for everything. I'm an independent woman. Right. You are. The other 90% of you are not. So
they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it for the competition and the goal.
It's funny because
something to do.
There's nothing wrong with that,
John. It's funny because I was also with Sean Ray this weekend, and Lee was with us, so there was no drama.
But they spent a lot of money on the for women to compete. Like just
what those suits cost? You know how much those posing suits cost? The figure fitness.
Yeah,
up to $1,000 or more. Those are like $1,500 a pop.
But like I said, they don't pay for that shit.
With all the sequence and the glittery shit on there. My wife competed. My wife competed in women's physique division. I know those things are expensive, and then you got 8 million other things they got to do: hair, nails, tanning, the extensions, the makeup. They got to have done that day. I mean, it is one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And then on top of that, you got to bring food with you. Who's going to cook that? I mean, it's like
it's easily $3,000 plus for a woman to compete.
Easily. That's extremely conservative. It's more like 10 if you can count. If you count the trainer, the choreographer, the massages, the chiropractor, the tanning, the red light therapy, the skin tightening treatments. These girls, it's a full-time job, especially in wellness. Those Latin chicks, the Brazilian ones especially, they get so many treatments you can't even imagine the shit that they do.
But some of them girls, you see them up close, and you figure if you wash that face, you'd be like,
you know what I mean? Like their teeth done, their nose is done.
Oh my god, the fucking eyelashes, the fake eyelashes,
the tattoos of
they're like 5 pounds each on each face, on each eyeball.
It's insane what they do. Yeah. I mean, if you put that girl who won wellness, put her back. What's her name? Eduarda. Put her back on the film where she was posing. We had her before, the blonde and the red. If you took a still of her, you could go down, start at the top and work all the way down. You'd probably rack up about $8,000 in shit, or more that she's either had done for that day or is.
You know what David Lee Roth said when I talked to him? He said she's a walking art project. That's what he said.
Remember he did that. He used to hang out with Kay Baxter.
He farted on me. He fucking threw a fart right on me, that motherfucker.
He's a wild dude.
David Lee Roth.
All right. On
Well,
that note, on the note of David Lee Roth throwing a fart on Greg Valentine, we're going to wrap this show up now. Thank you guys, Larry, Mr. G, Greg, for stopping by. All you fans out there that sent us messages during the show, we love you, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Fuck off.